You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Well, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities, Monday, January 26th. A cold Monday once again. Hopefully everyone is staying warm. It was a long weekend for most students, some businesses closing on Friday. It was really cold on Friday, really cold Saturday. Sunday was no fun either. Today looks ridiculously cold as well. But people are back in school and back at work and all those kind of things. So get there, stay warm, and then hang with us this morning as we keep you warm and talk about a ton of sports, a great sports weekend around the area and then, of course, in the nation as well. So we got you covered right here on OTA. I will say this. I still don't understand the whole, missing school because it's cold thing. I think Friday after the show, my kids and I went to the gym and played basketball and worked out. We went to dinner that night. The next day was equally cold, and there were basketball tournaments going on and all those kind of things and games and everything else. So I don't understand. I get it. I mean, I understand the safety of it, so I don't want to be that guy. But yeah, it's good that kids are back in school. My life's a little more normal and all those kind of things as well. So as I mentioned, it was a great weekend of sports. We're going to get to it here in a matter of moments. First and foremost, if you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you have, thank you. We appreciate that. Also, the chat is up and going. So if you have questions for guests or myself or want to make fun of me or yell at me or I did something wrong, which God knows I've done plenty of, jump on the YouTube chat, leave a message. I'll try to get to it as well during the show and everything else. So it's a bunch of fun on there as well. So get on there, do that as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us. So make sure if you're on X, you're being active as well and giving us all the feedback and all those kind of things as well. You can check out the show on all the podcasting platforms as well. Anywhere you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you go to get your podcasts, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You can listen to this show, the shows from last week as well, all of those kind of things as well. So subscribe, all those fun things as well, wherever you get your podcast. And then always, we like to welcome our viewers in Central Iowa. You can see Off the Air with Matt Randazzo every single evening at 7 p.m. on the WHO streaming app. We appreciate that. We've loved the feedback we've gotten from you guys out in Central Iowa, wherever you are. We appreciate any feedback you give, but welcome once again to our viewers in Central Iowa as well. Last week was a fun week. If you missed any of the shows, a busy week. Cole Rusk was on. We talked to him about his transfer from Illinois to Arizona, what it's like to be back in the portal and find that new home. Great interview there with Cole Rusk, one of my favorite people. So go check that out. We had Pat Anger, Ken Prince, Tom Kakert, Ray Sharp, the head coach at Sterling Newman High School, his 400th career victory last week. Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears. The list goes on and on. I'm not going to name all of them. Go check it out. I took a pie in the face last week as well. That, my friends, is worth going back and checking out the show. So if you're bored today or later tonight and you want to go check out some really good stuff from last week, do that as well. But don't do it right now. Don't go anywhere. We got a great show for you once again today. It was a great weekend of sports. So many big things happening. Coming up on today's show in a matter of moments, Kyle Huesmann from the HawkeyeReport.com and then also John Bohnenkamp, both of them covering the Iowa women yesterday at Carver Hawkeye Arena, will join us to talk about what was a historic Sunday. because the Iowa women beating a ranked opponent for the third consecutive time for the first time in school history. We talked a lot about the game last week, about what to expect and could Iowa win again? Who's the second best team in the Big Ten? All of those kind of things. And we didn't know. And Ohio State was supposed to be in the mix, and the Hawkeyes handled them easily. 91-70 the final. As I mentioned, their third straight victory over a ranked opponent. First time ever done in school history. Hannah Solke was really good. She had 18 and 15. Addie Deal with 20. The only negative about yesterday, Taylor McCabe went out early with an injury. It does not look good. But we'll talk tons of Hawks coming up with two guys that were sitting there in press row yesterday, Kyle Huesmann and John Bohnenkamp, in just a little bit. On Saturday, it was the Fighting Illini making a statement in West Lafayette. We had Ken Prince on Friday, and he said right here, he said, Illinois is going to go to Purdue and win. And Ken, I know he's an Illini guy, but he's also almost pessimistic sometimes when it comes to his predictions about Illinois. He felt this one. I mean, I think he picked Illinois to lose to Iowa. I can't remember. But trust me, plenty of times he'll pick Illinois to lose. And he picked Illinois to go to West Lafayette and win. They did just that, 88-82, in what will forever be known as the Keaton Wagler game. The freshman was special. 46 points, 13 of 17 shooting, only missed 4 times from the field, 9 of 11 from 3. And Illinois goes on the road, gets a big victory without Kylan Boswell. Jim Mattson from down in Peoria, of course, made the trip to West Lafayette to cover Illinois on Saturday. We're going to ask him if that was the best performance he's ever seen from an Illini player. We're going to talk to him about all of that, what it means moving forward, all of those kind of things. The great Jim Mattson coming up later on in hour number 1 of this show. And then high school-wise, Maquoketa, the girls up in Maquoketa continue to be one of the best teams in the entire state. They're ranked number 1. They've got a long winning streak. Their head coach, Chad Specht, will join us coming up in hour number 2 of the show to talk all about a really good basketball team and a basketball team with high expectations that they embrace, which I love as well. So, so many great things to get to. All of that coming up on the show. Plus, we have a Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is officially set. It will be the Seahawks versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl, less than 2 weeks, 13 days from right now. Plenty of time to talk all about it. Yesterday's games, entertaining. The NFC game was extremely entertaining. The Rams, boy, they did a lot of good things. When you're Matthew Stafford, you throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns and don't turn the ball over against that defense, you probably expect to win and to go to the Super Bowl. Costly mistakes. The muffed punt was huge, obviously. And it was Seattle winning and holding off the Rams 31-27. They got the stop on 4th down when they needed with about 5 minutes to go. And here's Sam Darnold, who wasn't good enough for the Vikings. And hey, I'm not trying to be that guy. The Lions weren't in the postseason either. But if you're the Vikings, how in the world do you let him go after winning 14 games and watch him lead somebody in the same conference to the Super Bowl for J.J. McCarthy? Just crazy. Hats off to Sam Darnold. And I saw something on social media that just blew my mind yesterday. This is the draft class that Sam Darnold was in. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, not very good, and Lamar Jackson. And Sam Darnold becomes the first of those quarterbacks to go to a Super Bowl. He goes to a Super Bowl before Baker Mayfield, before Josh Allen, before Lamar Jackson. So hats off to Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. They're in the Super Bowl. I'm not ready for the Patriots to be back in the Super Bowl. I'm just not. But they get the job done in snowy Denver. And it's weird because the snow was a big factor, but early in the game, Jarrett Stidham was the best quarterback out there. And it was 7-7 at the half. The snow, the weather came and basically shut everything down. A long drive to start the third quarter and a field goal in the third quarter is the difference. The Patriots in the Super Bowl once again. I know it's a different look, different people, all those kind of things. I'm not ready for the Patriots to be back in the Super Bowl yet. The Super Bowl line opens up Seattle -3.5. I have already invested some of my wife's hard-earned money on Seattle -3.5. I think that's extremely low, way too low. I do think Seattle's the best team in football. I think the NFC, just in general, is so much better than the AFC. I thought the line would come out like 6, 5.5, 6, 6.5. It's at 3.5. I really like the Seahawks. We're going to have our old friend Dan Tomlin on sometime this week or next to talk a little gambling about the Super Bowl and all those kind of things as well. So we'll get to all that kind of stuff. And then last but not least, it's Royal Rumble week. The Royal Rumble is this Saturday from Saudi Arabia, which is a little disappointing because it's like at 1 p.m. I'm going to have to not watch it while I go to all my kids' basketball and stuff, and then watch it later with some buddies. But Royal Rumble week, we'll preview it coming up on Friday. So Friday's show, be warned, it's going to be a lot of professional wrestling on Friday, and I'm okay with it. So it should be a great week here on the show. Coming up this week on the show, we're trying to track down Logan Jones, former Iowa center, who should be a Remington Award winner, should be playing football on Sundays coming up next season as well. We've got Rob Brooks coming up on Wednesday. There's a new head football coach at Rock Island High School, Anthony Rome, taking that job, United Township defensive coordinator. He'll be officially approved on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday he'll be right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. So all of that, and a lot more to get to this week, but let's start our Monday off with two guys that spent their afternoon and probably a little part of their evening at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report and John Bohnenkamp joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You guys got to spend a delightful afternoon at Carver Hawkeye Arena yesterday. Iowa continues to impress. Kyle, I'll start with you, and we do this every single time you're on, which, by the way, I might have to start paying you because you're on more than I am. The headline from yesterday, there's a million of them. What's the headline from yesterday at Carver Hawkeye?
Yeah, I think first the headline, I mean, obviously the overarching headline is that Iowa won the game by 21 points and really pretty much dominated outside of the first couple of minutes of the game. But yeah, the overarching headline is that Addie Deal finished with 20 points and came in a surprise situation with Taylor McCabe going down in the first 20 seconds of the game. And it's different when you come off the bench in that situation rather than coming off the bench midway through the first quarter. It's just kind of it's kind of a shock to come in that quickly almost. And Addie probably knew in her head that she was going to have to come in and provide some scoring with Taylor out, and did a phenomenal job. I mean, she was just 1 of 7 from 3-point range, but was 7 of 10 from 2-point range. Had 6 points in the first quarter and had 13 in the first half, and was just great. That might be something that they need from her going forward. If she's in the starting lineup, they're going to need her to be a more consistent scorer, and she showed that over the last few games. I also thought Hannah Stolke was fantastic, finished with 18 points and 15 rebounds. We've talked about her and her play recently. She's played really well over the last 4 or 5 games. So yeah, certainly to have Addie Deal going and kind of Hannah Stolke more at that consistent level. And then the other thing, kind of the side story is that Ava Hayden did not commit a single foul yesterday. So she played 27 minutes, probably could have played more, but for her to be able to handle the fouls in a big game like that and not have any issues with that was certainly big as well.
John, it's the first time in program history they've beaten 3 ranked opponents back to back to back. Your headline as you sat there at Carver Hawkeye Arena and kind of took in everything that happened yesterday.
They're still in first place. I mean, that's where you want to be this time of year. You want to go into this road trip, which isn't going to be an easy one. It never is easy for any Midwest team going west. But you're tied for first place, and you're going to get to play with the team you're tied with while you're out there. And you survive some difficult circumstances yesterday. You use the starter 23 seconds into the game. All of that stuff, I think, made this a pretty good win for them yesterday. And I mean, they dominated the first half and kept it going into the second half. There was that little blip there at the end of the game where you thought, okay, here we go again. And then, Chit Chat hits the big 3 from the corner, and that kind of put an end to it. But I just thought overall from beginning to end yesterday with everything that happened, you left there with a win, and now you're on your way west.
Yeah, no, 100%. Kyle, you look at things. We want to unwrap Hannah. I want to unwrap Addie Deal and what she means and all those. There's a lot to get to, but it was fun. I want to start with you because we talked on Friday, and we still. I think I ask you this question every time I see you: who's the second best team in the Big Ten? We can confidently say, as of right now, January 22nd, Iowa's the second best team in the Big Ten, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this the other day. You asked me, and I said, let's see who wins on Sunday. And, Iowa got the win even shorthanded. So I would say right now, Iowa's the second best team in the Big Ten. Now, obviously, we have to see them play potentially without a starter for maybe a while, maybe the rest of the season. We don't know yet. But that'll be interesting to see them go up against USC in a little bit of shorthanded capacity and see what the rotation looks like with that. But as of right now, they have to be the second best team in the Big Ten, and I think Michigan's right there as well. But they beat Ohio State, they beat Maryland, they beat Michigan State. Some of those other teams that were in that conversation for that second best team in the Big Ten, that designation. And right now, it's certainly Iowa, and like John said, they're going to get a chance with UCLA on Sunday as well. And they're still tied atop the Big Ten standings, so it's hard to say it's not Iowa. I'm curious where they're going to be in the AP poll today. I think they could be as high as 7 or 8. I think Jeff Linder said yesterday he's going to have them at 7. So with that in mind, I think Iowa's certainly the second best team in the Big Ten. And what they've done with these 3 ranked wins in a row, and I said this the other day when I was on here, I said I think they put themselves into the preliminary conversations for a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament. Now there's a lot of basketball left. There's a lot of tough games that could go back and forth, whether it's a game at home against like a Washington or Minnesota or something like that. Certainly still have to play Michigan, but right now where they sit at 18-2 and 9-0 in the Big Ten, they put themselves in the conversation as one of the best teams in the Big Ten and potentially a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament.
John, I'm on X yesterday as the game begins, following Kyle as always because that's what I do, and and everybody, not just Kyle, but everybody's like, oh, out goes McCabe. Addie Deal's got to have to step up and play some big minutes. We've been seeing it in recent weeks when it comes to Addie Deal. And Kyle talked about kind of getting on the court a little earlier and kind of almost starting because it was so quickly in. Your thoughts on not just the way she played yesterday, but it's one thing if it's like, okay, she had a good game, but this is now becoming a pattern where she's productive, she's shooting it well, and she had 5 assists. It's not like she's just out there scoring. Your thoughts on Addie Deal, and now here's this 5-star, 4-star guard that everybody was waiting for. She might be coming.
Well, you're midway through the season, and she's gotten the playing time. She's seen what this is like. She knows what she needs to do to get better. That's something Jan Jensen talked about yesterday. Is that this has been a steady progression. The one thing about it is yesterday. I mean, yeah, they played without Taylor McCabe. They've played games this year without other starters, so they had kind of an idea on what to do. You go back to December when Chit Chat was out, and you go back to when Kylie Feuerbach was out, and you didn't know when you were going to get either one of those back. So you've already played without some players. So I think that kind of helped yesterday because it was like, okay, we've done this before, we can do this again, and I thought she handled it very well yesterday. And moving forward, I think the minutes you saw yesterday are going to be the minutes she gets. And I think she can produce in that time, and we've seen it now in the last couple of weeks.
Kyle, John talked about progression, and you've watched Addie Deal in person a lot. When you watch her yesterday and you think back to December, is there a big difference in what you're seeing in a basketball player? Like, did the switch flip, if that makes any sense, or have you seen that progression? Take me from Addie Deal in December to what we saw yesterday and what we've seen the last couple games out of the freshman guard.
Yeah, I think, anytime it's a high 4-star or 5-star prospect, that, people kind of expect them to come in and just be elite from the beginning. And some of them are. I mean, there's freshmen across the country that this year that have come in and been, really good starters from the jump. But a lot of them take some time, and it's stuff that happens off the court too. I mean, Addie Deal comes to campus from California, and she's got to deal with being away from home for the first time, going through a summer where she's trying to learn the whole system, and then it's classes and things like that. There's all the stuff that comes with being a freshman in college, and then obviously you're trying to adjust to. Not only are you trying to learn this whole system at Iowa and learn what how am I going to fit in with this roster and things like that, and then you're trying to adjust to bigger, faster, stronger of D1 basketball and Big Ten play. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for players to get adjusted to everything that comes with being a freshman in college, not just the on the court stuff. You saw last year with Ava Hayden. She didn't get as many minutes as Addie Deal was getting, but it still took some time for her to adjust. I said this right around Christmas. I said Christmas is generally the time where you see some freshmen start to figure it out a little bit because they have a semester of classes under their belt. They have a semester of basketball under their belt. They get this break to kind of evaluate what's going on and kind of just take a break from everything that's happened. And then the second half, it's like, okay, I've been through classes. I've been through, a semester of practices. I've already been through the summer and things like that. And that's kind of when you see things flip for them a little bit. And particularly over the last couple of games, I think Addie Deal just looks more comfortable handling the basketball. There were some situations early in the season where she'd dribble into the paint and kind of just get stuck and not know what to do and turn it over. And she hasn't done that as much. She still had a couple where she's done that, but there's been a lot of times where she can drive in and she looks comfortable knowing what to do next when she gets in there, whether it's finish at the basket or kick it out for a shot or things like that. I think that's the one thing that I've seen in the last couple of games. She just looks more comfortable taking the shots, making the plays. And some of that is just you build up experience and you start to understand, hey, 2 games ago I did this and it didn't work. So this game you don't do that. You have to find a different way to complete that play. And I thought she looked really comfortable scoring yesterday. Had a really nice turnaround fadeaway shot that went down. And she doesn't look scared to take shots. I mean, she attempted 7 threes and only made 1 of them, but didn't look scared to attempt more after she was 1 of 4, 1 of 5. She kept shooting it, and that's a good thing as well that her confidence wasn't shaken from that. But certainly going forward, she has a different role now. We've talked about this with people off the bench where, certain games it's Journey Houston who steps up and has the rebounds, has a few baskets, and maybe it wasn't Addie Deal's night to do that. And the Oregon game, it was Addie Deal's night. And maybe there's a night where they need Layla Hayes to play some minutes. They're going to need Addie Deal to be there almost every night now. And I think you hope that Addie Deal understands that her role has just changed now at this point, and you don't have to go to her and say, we need you to score, that type of thing, because then you're putting pressure on a freshman. So some of it is just hoping that Addie Deal understands, okay, what I did against Ohio State, maybe not 20 points a game, but that type of performance, they're probably going to need that from me more often than not going forward. And hopefully she's comfortable with taking that step because if she is, it's going to be a huge boost if she can play similar to or like she did against Ohio State.
Kyle Huesmann and John Bohnenkamp joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. John, I hate to quote Kyle or give him any credit. I wish he would even leave the box for a second. No, but he mentioned a few weeks ago, maybe last week, the most important player on the Iowa basketball team is Hannah Stolke. And the consistency is something we've been waiting for all year, and you've seen it, and then it goes away a little bit. Boy, these last 3 games, and I think yesterday was 18 and 15, and she had some assists thrown in and stuff. What did you see? What have you seen from Hannah, especially these last 3 games that, boy, they're a different basketball team when she's playing at a high level. It's a duh question and probably a duh statement, but she is when when she's playing at that level, this is a top 2 seed in the country, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's something Jan talked about yesterday. That there again, Kyle talked about Addie Deal being comfortable. Hannah Stolke is really comfortable right now, and it's funny to say that about a senior. But what you are kind of seeing out of her is how senior players should play down the stretch, and at this point in the season, and. At the beginning of the year, there was some pressure on her to play this way because you are a senior. You've got to do this, you got to do that. Now she is playing that way. And so I think it's the overall getting the points, getting the rebounds. Yesterday, when you look at the number of rebounds, it was kind of a quiet 15 rebounds when you think about it. And she just is effectively doing the job. She's comfortable inside, obviously, because that's where she's played. She's comfortable. There's just a comfortability in everything she's doing right now. And this is what you want out of your seniors in January and what you want out of them when we get into February. So again, I think she's at an elite level right now that she wasn't at a few weeks ago. And it's just simply, it's time for me to do this. And she's doing it very well.
Kyle, you look at what she
I think
did.
If you go back to the Lindenwood, I think the Lindenwood game is kind of where it flipped. And Jan mentioned that, and John, like you just said, that early in the year, and there were comments in the preseason, and Jan said it at media day, like Hannah is our go-to player now. And I think there was some of that pressure of, Hannah's been great over the last couple of years. She's played in the Final Four. She's played the national championship game. I go back, she went toe-to-toe with Aaliyah Edwards in the Final Four against Connecticut. But then you get that designation of, okay, I'm the go-to player. Everybody expects me to, there's been comments good and bad about Hannah over the last couple of years, and everybody was saying she has to be this type of player this year. And maybe there's a little bit extra pressure early in the season, but I think that Lindenwood game, I think she put up like 31, might have been the flip of, okay, I just had a fantastic game. Like, that's the player that I can be this season. And really from then to now has been when she's really turned it on. She's had a couple of games in there. But the one thing that Jan said yesterday that I didn't know about, we've talked about the Northwestern game, how that was kind of the one blip in this big stretch of games from Lindenwood to now. She was 2 of 11 from the floor, but Jan said even in that game, they were struggling in that game. It was back and forth, low scoring game. A game that they probably really shouldn't have been that close in. And Hannah was in the huddle, really hyping people up, really being a leader in terms of a voice in the huddle, even though she was having a tough night. I think those are the things we've started to see out of Hannah over this last stretch. Is she's starting to understand not only the on the court play, but that she needs to be a voice for this team at times. So that was just kind of a cool thing that Jan shared, that even in a tough game for Hannah, they saw the differences from maybe early in the season to now with the way that she stepped up in the huddle in that game. And she's playing, first team All Big Ten type basketball right now.
It's funny. Then you add on top of that what Ava Heiden's doing, and Kyle, you joked a little bit or talked about at the beginning, but for her to play as effectively as she did and the amount of time she did and not foul, it's a kind of a ha-ha statement, but it's also like, seriously, that's a huge deal for this basketball team. If she can learn to play without fouling and be on the floor more often, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think you kind of put it hand in hand with Hannah Stolke being able to play at this more consistent level. You go back just, even a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, Ava's got to get this foul trouble figured out. Hannah's got to be more consistent. And if they can do that, that's how this team reaches, closer to their ceiling. And that's kind of what's happening right now is Ava still had, some games. Was it against Michigan State that she got the 2 fouls? Or no, it was against Maryland. She got the 2 fouls there late in the third quarter, had 4 fouls. And then Journey Houston came in and played huge minutes. But I think for the most part, it feels I'd have to go back and look through the games and look at when the fouls happen. But it feels like over this last few games, Ava's done a better job of staying out of foul trouble. She might still finish the game with 3 or 4 fouls, but the fouls don't happen in spots where it's like, man, you got to take it out of the game for the next, 10 minutes type of thing. And yesterday, certainly to have no fouls over 27 minutes and that's 18 points in 27 minutes. That's still a really good stat line. Finished with 8 rebounds, had 4 steals as well. So for her if she can continue to be consistent with the fouls and make sure she's not, the only time she's coming off the floor is to get a breather rather than coming off because she has to with foul trouble. If they can play her 25, 30, 32 minutes a game, and Hannah can play at the level she has been lately, they have a really, really good front court duo. And Kylie Feuerbach talked about it after the game, that they are a force to be reckoned with down there when they're able to play at their highest level.
Guys, you look at the environment yesterday at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Everyone understood the assignment. It was the striped game, all that kind of stuff. And they put it up on the board. I think 47 straight sellouts or something like that. Don't yell at me from. What does that mean? And it's to a point where, and John, I want to go back to, when Caitlin was there and everyone was like, this is crazy and fun, but it's going to go away. Like, this is just Caitlin and it's going to go away. And here we are, almost 2 years after Caitlin, and that place is still electric, and it makes a difference. You being at Carver yesterday, talk about the environment, and it's really I don't want to say a women's basketball school, but it's a highlight of women's basketball in the country is what they do at Carver Hawkeye Arena, game in and game out.
I mean, think about how loud it was during that first quarter run. That was, and that really kind of ignited, every basket, it just kind of got louder and louder. And that kind of got them going at a time when they needed to get going. You just lost a starter. You had a starter carried off the court 20, 30 seconds in. You got to have something. And when the shots were falling, that just, like I said, it just got louder and louder. And I think it speaks to just where the program is at right now. You're like you said, you're selling, the tickets are being sold. Now, maybe not everybody's there, but it's still a pretty packed house, and it gets loud, and it's a big advantage for them. And I think you saw that yesterday, especially in that first half, and you saw it down the stretch when Ohio State was kind of making that little run there and then chit chat it, but then the place just went nuts. And so, I mean, it got them through yesterday in a lot of ways. And so speaks volumes right now for where this program is at, within the state, but on a national level too.
Kyle, I hate to compare anything to the years of Caitlin Clark and what that was, because it was Beatles stuff. I mean, it just was. But is there getting, and you're at the pulse of Iowa women's basketball and the fans and all that kind of stuff, and the message boards and all that kind of stuff. How excited is this fan base continuing to get when it comes to Iowa women's basketball and what this team right here in 2026 can do over the next couple months?
Yeah, I think certainly these 3 ranked wins in a row have gotten people excited. Now, they weren't too happy with the way the Maryland game, I shouldn't say ended, because I think they were happy with the way the game ended, but they weren't happy the way the fourth quarter ended. But I think they're starting to see that this team is maybe outpacing some of the expectations that they had for the preseason, and they're getting close to outpacing what I had for the preseason for them. But in terms of the fans, like you go back to the Caitlin years, and I said this back when Caitlin was at Iowa. Most everybody was there for Caitlin at the beginning, but then it was, people were fans of Monica and Gabby and McKenna and Kate and all those people. And that's kind of carried over to this, to this team, because Hannah was a part of that team, Taylor McCabe was a part of that team. And so people stuck around to see some of those players. And then there's the new freshmen, like a Taylor Stremlo, that people have kind of latched onto. And this year it's been Journey Houston that people have latched onto, and Addie Deal. And I think, once you got that jump start and people started seeing some of the other players that were playing around to Caitlin, and then some of the young players on that team, it just kind of continues on. And as long as Iowa's a good, top 15, top 20 basketball team, I think it's going to continue, because people are going to get their new favorite, like a Journey Houston, who's going to be around for 3 years after this year, and Addie Deal, who's going to be around. And people are going to love McKenna Velichko, and then she'll be kind of the new freshman that people are a fan of. And it just continues to snowball, and everybody has their favorites, and they keep showing up to see those people. But in terms of how it helps Iowa, I mean, people have always kind of asked the question of how much does a crowd actually help? Like, what does it actually do? And I think the difference is in those moments where you are on a run and you're on I think the end of the first quarter on a 22-6 run, that crowd helps snowball that on the other team. When you're knocking down shots and Ohio State hears that crowd, it really starts to put pressure on you to stop that run. And I think it also helps in the opposite situation when Ohio State or whoever Iowa's playing is going on a little bit of a run, to have that crowd get behind you a little bit, and maybe they give you a little bit of a standing ovation to, hey, let's get going. You're down 8 points. Let's come back. If there's 1,000 people there, no one, the team has the motivation to come back, but they don't feel like anybody is behind them to help them make that comeback. If you're down 8 in the fourth quarter and you're trying to make a run, you got 15,000 people behind you trying to hype you up to get you to come back. It's much easier to do that. So I think the crowd helps urge the team on in certain situations, and certainly when you're on a run and you got a lead, or when Kevin McGuff's yelling at the refs and the crowd's yelling to give him a technical. Those are the little things that during the course of a game, it's much different when there's 15,000 people there rather than 3,000-4,000 people there.
It still feels different to me. And real quick, because, and I love Iowa basketball in general. But I always get frustrated sometimes because I feel like Iowa men's basketball team has to play good for the fans to get rocking and rolling. And it doesn't feel that way with the women's team. I don't know if it's a different environment, a different, more optimistic maybe, but it just feels different. What was yesterday like, John, in there? And you were going to say you were going to hop in with something as well.
I was there for the curtain years, even when Megan Gustafson was there were games when the curtains were down.
Yeah. And
there was, 6,000 or 7,000 there. So to see this on a consistent level and as Kyle said, that it's kept going, a couple years after Caitlin, says that this program has really built something here. And that's a big moment. That's a big moment for women's sports in Iowa, in my mind. I mean, it's because people are showing up, people are there, and they're still coming, and they're still waiting for autographs, and they're still, and I just think that to be able to carry that on says a lot about the product that's on the court.
John, you and I are old men. Kyle's a young whippersnapper.
We've heard that, yeah.
But it's that big week for Iowa basketball where both the men and women play huge conference games against USC it's weird. As the old guys were like, USC is not a. But let's talk about the West Coast trip. They're going to Dodger Land. I know you want them to go visit Dodger Stadium and all. Get all
the championship trophies, not trophy, but trophies.
All right. Your thoughts going into this week, and obviously there's that UCLA game on Sunday that we're going to talk about in a second. First things first, I know USC is a game that you don't want to give back one by doing what you've done and then going on the road and laying an egg. How important is this week, and how do you approach it if you're Iowa?
You approach it like it's a business trip. It's no different than if you were going to Purdue and Indiana. You got to go out there and play well. And the USC game is big because I don't think you want something to happen there and then have to go into UCLA and. So, I mean, it is a big game for them, a big weekend for them. And it's like you look at it, you got to get that first one and then worry about the next one. Don't be looking too far ahead, because, I mean, that's a really, really good UCLA team. And with Lauren Betts, who's the second most important Betts in LA. But, no, I do think this is a really big trip for them. And I will be – how they handle it, I think, kind of sets the tone for the rest of the season in my mind.
Dodger
if
talk.
You go out there and play well, so.
Dodger talk here on Off the Air, brought to you by John Bohnenkamp.
Anyway,
Kyle, your thoughts on the trip out west? It's important, and I'll add this to it when you throw this one at you. I had people say to me, like a couple people, like, why do you and Kyle keep on saying who's the second best team in the Big Ten? Iowa's undefeated too. How? In the process of that, how good is UCLA? We talked before UConn, and the same people probably said to me, why do you and Kyle don't think that Iowa's on UConn's level? Like, there's a level thing here, and UCLA is just on that next tier, in my opinion. Your thoughts on the trip and maybe addressing why aren't they the best team in the Big Ten people out there?
Yeah, I think obviously the USC game is a big one, and USC will be kind of a weird game because they come in at 11-9. They haven't been playing good basketball, but they've been playing some close games. They just played Michigan on the road yesterday and lost by 6. So that's it's not a bad loss to lose by 6 at Michigan, and they lost by 6 at Michigan State. They lost close to Maryland. They lost by 1 to Minnesota. So they've had some really close losses that had they gone the other way, maybe USC's still ranked. But they're a team that's been struggling. It'll be interesting to see how USC comes out, at 11-9. All of a sudden, they're kind of in the situation that you lose to Iowa, they're going to be on the NCAA tournament bubble. So it's a big game for USC to try to stay on the right side of the bubble and pick up what would be a huge win for them for their resume. So I don't expect this to be an easy game for Iowa to go out there. I think there's going to be a few people that are going to see 11-9 and say this isn't the Juju Watkins Trojans team. That's a team that can still beat Iowa. So, and with UCLA on Sunday, I agree with John that this is a game that you want to get. Because if you lose it and then you lose to UCLA, you come back with 2 losses. They won't be in any sort of trouble at 9-2 in Big Ten play. They'll still be in great position to finish with a double bye for the Big Ten tournament, things like that. But it'll feel like a little bit of the momentum is lost if they go 0-2. So I think USC is important on Thursday, and then on Sunday with UCLA. There's a reason why Torvik has UCLA as a 16.5 point favorite. UCLA has been just dominant in Big Ten play. I don't see them losing. I don't think they're going to lose to Iowa. I think Iowa, if they play their best basketball, can keep it close. I just don't see them winning there. And I don't see UCLA losing the entire Big Ten season. We've talked about some of these toss-up games for Iowa. I keep saying Iowa's probably not going to go 18-0. They're probably not even going to go 17-1. I do think UCLA is going to go 18-0. But it'll still be, if Iowa beats USC, it'll still be a huge game because, as John said, you'll get a chance to play that team that you're tied with at the top of the standings, and you get to see how you measure up against. And UCLA is a top 4, top 5 team in the country, so you get to see how you measure up against the top 4, top 5 team, a team that's probably going to be a 1 seed at the NCAA tournament. One of those teams that if you want to make an Elite 8, make a Final 4, you might have to beat a team like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Iowa matches up against them on Sunday, but I just don't see Iowa winning. I think if they play at their best, which is going to mean Addie Deal's going to have a big game. Ava Hayden and Hannah Stolker are going to have to be good. They're going to have to make some threes. They're going to have to really try to rebound. I think they can keep it close, but I just see that as being the loss for them, which makes USC, like I said, a little bit more important because you don't want to go 0-2 while you're out there on the West Coast.
Kyle made a point that I was just thinking about because you go back to the UConn game and how they played that day. if you think you can be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament and you think you have Final Four hopes, these are teams you're going to have to beat at some point. And so you've got to go out there and play well. You've already played a UConn team and you didn't play well. Psychologically, you want to play well against this team because you don't want that in your head as you get into March and you have to face the elite once you get in the NCAA tournament play. So.
And you mentioned it. I don't think it's, and not even as much beating, but the way they played it and like how good UConn was. You just want to play better, I think, or hang with or battle with. Those kind of things would be important as well. All right, before I let you both go, there's 9 Big Ten games left. If you could only go to one of them, what's the best game left on Iowa's schedule? Nebraska's on the road is going to be a good one. UCLA is a good one out there. Michigan comes to Iowa City. For us Quad Cityans, Illinois comes to to Carver Hawkeye. We'll start with the grizzled veteran. John, if you can only go to one game, if you're a fan and can only go to one game, what's the best game left on Iowa's schedule?
Well, if you were flying to LA, if you could fly to LA, go to the UCLA game. But I do think those games you mentioned that you play down the stretch, the teams that, just like yesterday with Ohio State, the ones that you want to beat, and I think you want to beat Illinois, you want to beat Michigan, you want to be. If you're not going to be number 1, you want to be number 2. So those are going to be kind of the games that you have to play well in down the stretch because, again, those are teams that can trip you up at some point in the season. So I say go to the UCLA game, get on a plane and go out there, and then, of course, you know where I want everybody else to go. But anyway, that would be – those games are going to be the ones that I think will be interesting because, like Kyle said, if you figure you're going to lose that one – there's some other ones you don't want to lose. And so I think there's going to be some really good games down the stretch for them.
Kyle, I look at that Michigan game, and if that's the 2 teams that are the second best teams in the Big Ten, and it's at Carver Hawkeye, and you look at the way it looked yesterday and the way it's been at home, your thoughts? I think that Michigan game's super fun.
Yeah, that's the game I'd circle as the best game left, just because, again, I don't hope that Iowa gets blown out against UCLA. I hope they keep it a close game just for the sake of the fan base, and they want to obviously play better than the UConn game. I just don't think that's going to be a win. So you put that away as a loss, and you look, what's the next best game after that? It's that Michigan game. And if Iowa loses to UCLA, that doesn't mean they can't be a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament. Doesn't mean they can't finish second in the Big Ten. Doesn't mean they can, whatever. That Michigan game, because everything else after that, like they're going to be favored to beat USC. They're going to be favored against Minnesota and Washington. At Nebraska is going to be tough. But if Iowa can take care of business for the most part, and even if they do lose one more game in there somewhere, that Michigan game is going to be the one for a 2 seed at the Big Ten tournament. It's going to be with potential implications for a 3 or a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament. That's the big one. That if you're going to lose to UCLA, Michigan's the one that you got to get back to make sure you want to stay in that conversation for the 3 or the 2 seed. Because I've said, a 4 seed at the NCAA tournament means you got to play a 1 seed in the Sweet 16. If you can get to a 3 seed, if you can get to a 2 seed, that gives you the opportunity to get to an Elite 8. So I think that Michigan game, again, there's a lot of basketball around that Michigan game that they're going to have to take care of business to get to the implications of that game. But if they get to that Michigan game with the only loss being UCLA or something like that, that Michigan game is going to be huge for postseason implications, not only for the Big Ten tournament, but for the NCAA tournament.
I lied. We do have to go. Super Bowl winner. Start with Kyle.
The Seahawks. I thought the Rams were going to win yesterday. My dad's a Rams fan, but the Seahawks got it done. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Mr. Bohnenkamp.
Patriots. I'm going to go with Patriots. Wow. Yeah.
I'm not ready for the Patriots to be doing this again.
I'm a Vrabel guy.
I get
What's
it.
That?
I'm not ready for the Patriots to be back in the Super Bowl. I feel like they should go away for a little while.
They're not as annoying as what they used to be.
Yeah.
And you got rid of it, and they don't cheat like the other ones.
See the Patriots this time though. The Patriots weren't expected to get there. The Patriots were the Patriots with Tom Brady were like what Mahomes and the Chiefs became, where it was like, oh brother, here we go, here they are again. This Patriots was at least like, well, are they going to be good? But nobody really thought they were going to be good this year. So I mean, it's still the Patriots. It's still the Patriots uniform. And you're like, oh, here are these guys again. But I think. And did you guys see the comment Mike Vrabel last night? He said, like, there's no curfew tonight, but if you guys aren't on the bus at 8 a.m., you're not playing in the Super Bowl.
That's great. I love Mike Vrabel. I think he's a great guy. Here's my problem is they've beaten one in the regular season. They beat one team above 500 or 500 or better. other than that, everybody else was 8 wins or less. I think Seattle wins. I don't hate the Patriots. I just think, in fact, my wife's money earlier this morning thinks the the Seahawks will win by more than 3.5. So we'll just leave it at that and go from there. Boys, I appreciate it. Iowa heads west. It'll be a big week of basketball at West. I'm assuming Johnny, you'll be at Carver on Wednesday, maybe?
Oh, yes, busy week. Carver on Wednesday. 2 games over at Western Illinois this weekend. It's big. This
is a hard-working young man right there, Kyle. Take notes. This is a legend.
Exactly.
All right.
I always hear from him about the Western Illinois women and how they're doing, and they're in today. They'd be in the NCAA tournament.
It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, boys. Yep. I appreciate you both. We'll catch up soon.
Have a good one. See ya.
All right. Kyle Huesmann and John Bohnenkamp talking Iowa women, and it was an impressive weekend. And like they both said, they have to continue. Don't give one back, all those kind of things. But everybody go to social media. Everybody's talking about the Iowa women's basketball team. People are also talking about the Illinois men and this guy by the name of Keaton Wagler who went crazy at Purdue. And also at Purdue on Saturday was our good friend Jim Mattson from down in Peoria. We'll catch up with Jim, talk Illinois basketball. We've got Maquoketa head coach Chad Specht coming up as well. It's a very busy, and also the poll question is up and going. It's pretty simple. Who's winning the Super Bowl? Seahawks or Patriots? Weigh in on that and much more. You're watching OTA on a Monday in the cold Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off Date with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Wow, what a sports weekend we had. Of course, it was Championship Sunday in the NFL. We've got the Patriots and the Seahawks. We talked all about the Iowa women winning their third straight game against a ranked opponent. They're 9-0 in Big Ten play. And on Saturday, you can't forget about the Fighting Illini. They go on the road. We had Ken Prince on here on Friday saying Illinois is going to go on the road and win that game. They did just that. Keaton Wagler was amazing. These numbers are absurd. 46 points, 13 of 17 from the field, 9 of 11 from three. 9 of 11 from three. He missed 4 shots from the field all day. 46 points. The Illini pick up another signature victory. And of course, the guy who made the trip to West Lafayette, the hardest working person in the state of Illinois, maybe the entire world. Jim Mattson joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Happy Monday, my friend. That's a good game to go to. Well done.
It was an unbelievable game. I love going to Mackey Arena. You know, the fans are right on top of you. Their student section is as good as any. And I was actually curious, you know, how would the Illini react? How would this team react at Purdue? Because the Iowa crowd was a little hostile, but they really haven't played a lot of real hostile road games. And for the freshman to score the first 14 points was mind-boggling. And little do we know, you know, he had, 32 more in him. 46 points, man. I was joking. Somebody's got to ask him at halftime. You know, he must have got tired. He only scored 22 in the second half. I mean, he had 24 points in the first half, 22 in the second half. He was just amazing for all 40 minutes. I think he played, 39 minutes, 38 minutes, 52 seconds. He was just unbelievable.
You look at the gym, and it's one of those things where I think at one point he had close to 40, and Illinois had 60. Like, I mean, it was one of those things watching as just a college basketball fan. I was sitting there thinking, don't waste this. You know what I mean? Like, don't waste this and be like, the Keaton Wagler game was amazing, 46 points, but they lost. Before we're going to talk more about Keaton in a second, because I think he's in the discussion for Big Ten Player of the Year, not Freshman of the Year. Forget the freshman. But to get the victory, I think, was most important for this team. Talk about getting out of that place with a victory against a school there's no love lost. We talk here in the Quad Cities about Iowa, Illinois. Purdue, Illinois might be the most intense rivalry for the Fighting Illini fan base right now in basketball, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Purdue's kind of been the standard. Illinois is right there. I mean, they're about dead even in wins the last 5 or 6 years. So you know that if you're going to contend for a Big Ten title, you got to contend with Purdue. And it's in this day and age of 18 teams, you only play them once. So it was a huge game in that respect. And you felt like it was a game that if you win it, you're a legitimate Big Ten contender. And if you lose it, you got some games to make up, and you're not going to play Purdue again. But you're right, Matt. I mean, I went to the game. I came home, watched the game on TV, and I was talking about Wagler at church. I was talking about Wagler all day. Wagler almost overshadows the fact that what a monumental win for Illinois. A win that, gives them a real shot at the Big Ten title, a win that on Selection Sunday is going to look like gold, and a win that, again, without Kylan Boswell, I mean, they're winning on the road. They've won 9 in a row. I mean, it checks so many boxes for legitimacy of, a Final Four type team, legitimacy of guys, Purdue played great. I mean, if you had told me Purdue was going to shoot, I'm looking at the box score here, Purdue's going to shoot 57% and make 3 turnovers at home and lose. I mean, these are the top 2 efficiency offensive teams in the country, and it was an offensive shootout. It was an unbelievable game. It was a pleasure to be there. I just thought it was an amazing game. But you're right, the team aspect of it for Illinois. I asked Underwood after the game, the 100th Big Ten win. He hasn't had a bigger one. He has not had a bigger Big Ten win than that one. I mean, his 100th, so again, the Wagler game, but you win at Purdue against a preseason number 1 team on the road is a huge, huge win.
Jim, I remember seeing that you were there and thinking in church on Sunday, I got to get Jim on the show. And it's just you and me. Nobody else is listening. You've seen a lot of basketball. I'm not calling you old by any stretch, but you've been at a lot of, high school, college, all those. Have you, and we're talking about Jim Mattson, have you seen a better individual performance in person in your life?
Well, I'm trying to think of my life. I mean, I've seen some pretty incredible school, but Illini basketball. I mentioned I saw the Brandon Paul game when he scored 40 against Ohio State. I remember driving to Champaign thinking Illinois has no chance, and Brandon Paul almost single-handed that game. Again, Purdue played great, and the reason they lost was Wagler. Wagler was unbelievable. Early in the game, I was like, this is the best I've ever seen a freshman play. And by halftime, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen an Illini player play this well. And then he kept it up for 40 minutes. I think it's the best individual game I've ever seen an Illini player play. I mean, as far as you talk about shooting efficiency, you talk about the assists at the end of the game, you talk about being on the court for 39 minutes, Purdue trying different things on him. Maybe they didn't try enough. I know some people are questioning that, but he was just unreal. I don't think I've ever seen a guy control the game, the ball in his hands, make shots. I think it's the best performance I've ever seen by an Illini player.
Jim Mattson joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. The way he did it, and here's the thing: I knew he was good. I saw him on television. I knew like this freshman was good. I remember being at Carver Hawk. I saw you there, and I'm like, this kid is playing. And yeah, I mean, West Lafayette's a better environment, but still, he went on the road to Iowa, and every time Iowa got things rolling, it was Wagler making a big shot. No, even Northwestern, he played well. Like, these are the hardest. Like, there's no harder than West Lafayette. That's what I think it makes it more impressive is that he's 18 and he's going to Carver Hawkeye and then going to Mackey Arena and doing that. I think that's what makes it more impressive. This isn't 46 at State Farm when everybody's rocking and rolling.
No.
This is on the road at arguably the hardest place to play in the Big Ten.
Yeah, one of the loudest arenas. It's funny because at halftime, you get about 15 minutes at halftime. You know, I went into the press room real quick, but then I actually walked up to the concourse and I knew a couple of Illini fans there, and I talked to them. But I talked to some Purdue fans, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, it was unanimous. The Purdue fans were like they'd never seen anything like this. And of course, he scored more points than anyone in the history of Mackey Arena as far as a visiting player, but everyone in the arena was aware of the game he was having. Like I said, he had 24 at half. He had 22 in the second half. He had the last basket of the game. He had 2 free throws in the final 20 seconds. And you're right, his poise. I mean, he's like, I don't know if he's 18 or 19, but he's like 18 or 19 going on like 35. He's so poised out there and so under control. And, you know, I know a couple of people say he doesn't even celebrate. He doesn't throw threes up. He doesn't taunt. He's just amazing. His poise, and I mean, it really is. He's unflappable. And Homer, you know, he actually went 1 for 9 shooting threes against Maryland. And I guess the shooting slump's over because 9 out of 11 in this game and he missed his first one. After that, he was just unbelievable.
Jim, I had a mutual friend of ours text me from Quincy. And the story behind how he got to where he was at. I remember Bennett Sturtz mentioned in the postgame, I think it was Bennett, in the postgame in Iowa City that he met him because he went to visit. I mean, it was Drake. I think Minnesota came in a little later. And then I know we played in Quincy. I think Brad might have saw him in Quincy finally. Yeah. But I think he offered him sight unseen, which is, why in the world did this guy get a late offer from Illinois? He might be one and done. He might be in the league next year. Can you talk about his story? Because it's remarkable that he, was the Kansas State Player of the Year, but he's not a Jayhawk. He's not a Wildcat. No. He almost was a Drake Bulldog. Can you talk more about his story and how he got to Illinois?
Well, I mean, Tyler Underwood saw him at some point or got tipped off on him at some point. And, you know, Illinois recruited a couple of those kids. They got an Iowa prep recruit. They got a Missouri prep recruit. They just signed a sophomore or got a commitment from Chicago that's not that heavily regarded. So if Illinois finds somebody that they feel fits their system, they go after him. But, you know, he's a kid that did not play in the high AAU. And, you know, when you start looking at all these rankings and you look at the rankings and the top 99 of the top 100 are playing for one of 10, you know, AAU teams. It's kind of a little bit of if you're not seen on that stage, you're not good enough or whatever. So he kind of flew under the radar in that respect. But, you know, my brother actually went to the Quincy Shootout last year. And, I said, what'd you think of Wagler? And he was, you know, my brother's pretty perceptive. And he was like, I think he's going to be a good player in time for Illinois. I mean, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be this player. And then in the summer, you started hearing about it. And again, I thought it was the Underwood hype train. I thought he was overhyping this kid. But, you know, we talked a year ago, Matt, about, you know, would Riley be a first-round draft pick? Would KJ be a first-round draft pick? Well, if you compare the production of this kid, you compare the production of Wagler against KJ, who had great games but had a lot of turnovers and a lot of so-so games. Riley, who had about half a good year. This young man's been good since day one. And as the team's gotten better during this 9-game streak, he's been as good as anyone in the Big Ten. So the productions, you know, if those guys are one and done, this guy's a lottery pick for sure. I mean, his production as a freshman is just out of this world.
I said last one on Wagler, but I lied because, yes, freshman of the year is an obvious thing. And I got to look around the league a little more, and it's 18 teams now instead of 10 or 12 or 14, whatever. Yeah. He's first team all Big Ten right now, right? And I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else is in there. I mean, obviously, the point guard from Purdue they just played, Braden Smith, is right there with him. And he was
27 and 12 in this game.
He was special. He was special on Saturday too. Am I wrong here that Keaton Wagler, we can kind of put the freshman of the year stuff aside for right now. He's one of the best players in the Big Ten, right?
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, again, Illinois right now is 8-1 in the Big Ten. I mean, they're playing great basketball. He has been their most consistent player. He has been their scorer. He's been their assist guy. I mean, I think he's got to be first team All Big Ten. And you're right. I think he's got to be in the player of the year candidate. I mean, Nebraska's doing it as a team. Michigan State's got some really nice players. Obviously, Braden Smith's unbelievable, and it'd be hard. It's going to be hard not to vote for Braden Smith when he's putting up double doubles with assists and points. He was great on Saturday, but even Braden Smith gets to that podium and is like, I mean, the kid's a lottery pick. We couldn't stop him. I mean, he was that good. So absolutely, he's got to be in Big Ten Player of the Year candidate for sure.
Illinois is 17-3, 8-1 in conference play. I think is it Washington at home this week? Am I crazy?
Washington at home, Nebraska next Sunday. So at Nebraska on Sundays. It's funny because you only play 3 teams twice, and for decades you would have thought playing Nebraska twice would be a bargain, and now it turns out that's you've been dealt a very difficult card. But Nebraska plays Michigan on Tuesday, so Nebraska's at Michigan tomorrow, and then the big game against Illinois Sunday. So I'm sure Illinois would like to get that win, but that'll be a fun game. But first things first, they have Washington Thursday.
You mentioned Kylan Boswell not being in there. And I think defensively, especially, it's a big deal. The fact that they went on the road and doing what they're doing without him, can we talk about a ceiling for a second? Like, is the ceiling – I had a buddy text me. He's an Illini fan. He was pretty excited after the game. And he's like, I wish I would have put money on Illinois to win the national championship like a week or two ago when I wanted to. And I want to kind of be like, pump the brakes a little bit, but talk can start – can we talk about a ceiling or a floor, or where do you see this big picture of this thing for me right now?
I still think there's crazy athletic teams that are going to give them problems defensively. I still, again, matchups. I think there's matchups that Illinois is going to have trouble with. But Illinois is going to give a lot more teams matchup problems than the other way around. So if Illinois gets a very good draw, this could definitely be a Final Four team, and then anything happens. I've always said maybe Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8. But boy, they are tough to guard. Again, they had 6 guys hit threes in this game. So they've got a bunch of guys that can shoot the three who are tall and all have mismatches. The game before the Maryland game, I've never seen a box score like it. All 5 Illinois starters took 6 3-point shots. I mean, you got to guard everybody at the arc. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. They're the tallest team in the country, and everybody's shooting threes. I mean, it's just this wild thing you never would have thought happened, and here it's happening this year with Illinois. So Illinois, when they're shooting threes, and yesterday or against Purdue, they're 18 out of 38. I mean, when they're making threes, nobody wants to run into Illinois, and they rebound like crazy now. So when they rebound and chase down the missed threes, I don't know who wants to play Illinois. I think there are teams Illinois will have trouble with, but it's a national championship contender. I don't think they're a favorite. I think there are 3 or 4 teams. We'll see Michigan. I think late in February we'll play Illinois. Arizona looks really good. I still think UConn would be a tough matchup for Illinois. I think there's some teams that Illinois would like to avoid, but right now you're probably talking about the 2 seed, and who knows? How good their record will be come Selection Sunday, and there is a Midwest bracket where they could be very close to home all 3 rounds to the Final Four.
I know that the Big Ten Player of the Week comes out on Mondays sometime. I'm not going to look at my email. We're going to call them the Big Ten Player of the Week, and that makes sense. Real quick with Washington, I got a couple more for you. Washington, I know they're a decent basketball team. It's a very winnable game, a game you should win. I always get worried about the letdown or that sandwich game. You know what I mean? Like that game against Nebraska is that shiny little thing out there. And at least it's at home and all of those kind of things. I don't think maybe a little bit of a letdown, but there's no reason to be worried about Washington on Thursday, correct?
The team's depth, like I said, I thought they played pretty darn sluggish against Maryland for 10 minutes. They win by 20. Yeah. I mean, they hit you with that avalanche of threes. They hit you with guys off the bench. Humrickhouse hit a couple of big threes. Jake Davis has hit some big shots. I mean, they've got a lot of guys. Obviously without Boswell is a huge part of this team. So getting Boswell back is going to be massive. But this team shows up to play. I don't know if it's the European mindset or what it is, but, they go into Iowa City and they play well. They go into Purdue, they play well. They go into Evanston, they play well. So I don't think they're a team that's going to get caught too much looking ahead because I think they love playing. I just think they have that mentality. Hey, instead of practice, we get to play tonight. Let's go play. And they play well together. They really like each other. Out of all the things that happened on Saturday, I thought afterwards Underwood's comments about just the incredible joy that this kid scored 46. And on Thursday there was incredible joy that Stojakovic scored 30. They really are sharing in each other's success, and right now they feel like a team.
Jim, and we complain, you and I do, because we're old and we can kind of do those things. But I looked ahead. I was like, I need to know when Michigan, Illinois play. And I know Ked told me on Friday they only play once, and it's in Champaign. I'm like, okay, let's go. This should be a fantastic game. And then I look on the schedule. Do you know what? Why? Why is it? It's Friday, February 27th. Why, Jim?
I haven't looked too carefully, but I'm sure it's a regional championship night. I'm sure I'm going to have high school games out the wazoo that night. I mean, it's TV, and obviously, I don't know if it's Fox TV on Friday night. I hate it. I hate it too. I mean, I love this game being Saturday at 2. I just loved it. The Illinois-Purdue game. I don't know. I hate it too. I'm old too, and I complain all the time, but I love playing Iowa twice. I love playing Michigan twice. I love every Big Ten team coming to my barn, us going to everybody else's barn. I love that. So I don't want to sound like the UCLA coach and complain, because I know the Big Ten's laughing to the bank. But Big Ten basketball used to be a lot more fun when you played everybody twice and you knew everybody's name. And when you started asking about Washington, I was like, God, please don't ask me about Washington, because I don't know Washington. I know they got one kid from Peoria, Lathan Somerville, but I don't know Washington. I haven't seen Washington all year. They're in the Big Ten, but they may as well be Eastern Washington for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you. I completely agree. Okay, football-wise, a few more questions. The Big Ten schedule comes out Tuesday night. On Wednesday, I'm going to have a bunch of Iowa guys on here. I do the pregame. It's an Iowa thing, and we're going to kind of have some fun with wins and losses. You don't know what the schedule is. Is there anything you're looking forward to when the schedule comes out? For me, it's Iowa and Illinois finally play. I think it's down in Champaign.
Yeah,
I'm curious when that game actually goes down and happens. But is there anything – I mean, we don't know the teams almost yet. I mean, we get to a little bit, but right. Is it a big deal for you or for Illini Nation when it comes to a storyline or what you're interested in when the football schedule comes out on Tuesday?
I always kind of look at the stretches. I like to think, can you be 5-0? Can you build? I still think Illinois is a program. I hope maybe it isn't anymore, but Illinois is a program where you have to build towards ticket sales. So if you're 4-0, you're going to sell out the last 4. Maybe Josh Whitman and Brett Bielema have convinced Illinois fans to buy season tickets. Maybe we don't have to worry about that. But I always think, when do you play those teams that you're going to be underdogs against? When do you play those teams who might disrupt your momentum? So I always kind of look for when the tough games are on the schedule. This year, what was Ohio State week 5 or whatever? It was somewhat early, but it was, they were able to build a little momentum. Obviously, Indiana steamrolled that momentum a little bit, but so I look at that. I look at when you play the tough teams and when potentially how much momentum can you build up at the beginning of the year.
It's funny because you know what I look at? I look at what games are on a Friday night, so I can get crazy.
I do too. I didn't want to sound like the old guy. I didn't want to sound like the old guy complaining of it, but I'm the same way. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. There were high school games that I wanted to call that I couldn't because Iowa played out in Rutgers. And so I don't go to Rutgers, but I go up to beautiful Big Grove Brewery in Iowa City, and so I'm hanging out by myself on a Friday night doing a pregame show. So it's the Patriots and the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Convince me not to spend a bunch of my wife's hard-earned money on Seattle to win the whole thing.
I like Seattle. I like Seattle a lot. I'm amazed that Sam Darnold's potentially going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but I love their defense. Witherspoon from Illinois made a big play in the NFC Championship. But I just love their aggressive downhill defense. I've actually always liked Walker, the running back out of Michigan State. Obviously, Smith and Jigba has been just phenomenal. I think Seattle's a little more complete team. New England's good, and maybe they won't beat themselves, but I do like Seattle. My early thought is Seattle's going to win the Super Bowl with a coach that most people have to Google him. Like they don't even know who he is, but what a job he's done with that program and that team. So I'll be picking Seattle. I can guarantee you. I'm not sure a score, but I'll be picking Seattle. Yeah. I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready for the Patriots to be back in the Super Bowl. Well, they needed like 20 years of purgatory or 20 years. I mean, I don't need the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
What's crazy
with a young quarterback? I don't need this.
Look at their schedule. They only beat the only team with an above 500 record or even a 500 record that they beat in the regular season were the Bills. Everybody else is I don't know. Anyways, we get 2 weeks to talk about all that kind of stuff. Tell me quickly about Peoria. Obviously it's rocking and rolling when it comes to high school sports. Wrestling is right around the corner as well. Are there teams that you're starting to pinpoint like we could be working a little longer this year with this team and that team?
Yeah. We've got really good 3A basketball. I'll tell you, 3A basketball, where the downstate teams are really good. If you count Kankakee as downstate, they're really good. Decatur MacArthur is unbelievable. They just came and beat one of our Middle-Illini teams, Washington, by like 60 points. East St. Louis is unbelievable. So I think we might have a downstate champion in 3A. I'm not sure it's going to be in the Peoria area, but there's good balance in the Peoria area. 4A, I think Rock Island's 4A. I think that, Normal Community is pretty good in 4A. And Peoria Richwoods is really good in 4A. So you might see those teams make a chance, could make a run in 4A. They both have some very young talent. So they look good. And we've got a lot of good small school teams. With that new rule, 300 and under enrollment, we've got a lot of teams that were at like 280, 290 who are now very much in the mix in 1A. Teams like Tremont and DMAC and teams like that, Fieldcrest, who have traditionally been really good 2A teams, are now in 1A. So we'll be busy in March, I guarantee it.
No, I love that.
I know Galesburg. Galesburg came over and won at Morton. Morton was ranked number 1 in girls basketball Saturday, and Galesburg beat them. I've seen Galesburg like 3 times in girls basketball, and boy, they play hard. That's going to be a tough team to beat. Washington and Morton are really good, but Galesburg is really impressive. Their coach does a great job. They play really, really hard.
They do that. It's funny. You're like reading my mind. I'm having their head coach on later this week, a little tease ahead with what they're doing, all those kind of things. Jim, I appreciate it. You're the hardest working media member in the entire state. You picked a great one to go to. Not that you don't go to all. Think about that. So how many road games did you go to Evanston?
I did not go to Evanston. I went to Iowa City. I like the early afternoon games or the Saturday. Monday through Friday I'm anchoring TV, so it's hard for me to get to night games. So when I see, Purdue's like 2:30 from here, Iowa City's like 2:20. So that's not a bad ride. I can listen to some, great Matt Randazzo podcasts on the way, and all of a sudden I'm there, man. I'm at the game.
There's nothing. As long as you don't drive off the road listening to me, then you're doing a great thing. So, Jim, I appreciate you as always. Be good, stay warm. We'll catch up soon.
Sounds great, buddy.
All right. That is Jim Mattson, the best of the best down in Peoria. What a great game to be at. And I looked and I see Jim's tweets popping up, and I'm like, we got to have him on. And Jim's been covering Illini basketball for years. I'll save him on that. And that's the best performance he's seen in person. So impressive to say the least. We got much more to get to. Coming up after the break, we're going to get to some high school basketball. Maquoketa is the number 1 ranked team in the state of Iowa, and for very good reason. They were great last year. They're awesome again. Their head coach is going to join us right after this. You're watching OTA. It's Monday on a cold Quad City Monday. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. We're talking a lot of college basketball, and rightfully so. The Iowa women, amazing. Illinois going on the road, and as good of a performance you've ever seen from a freshman in the Big Ten came this past weekend on Saturday. The high school basketball scene is heating up once again. This was always my favorite time of year when I was at WQAD because everyone talks about March Madness and all those kind of things. It's really a February frenzy that we get rocking and rolling. And this time of year is where you start seeing, the conference races come to form. All the milestones happen all the time. And the postseason is right around the corner. And in our area, one of the best girls basketball teams in the state, and you can throw out classifications, is up in Maquoketa, and their head coach, Chad Specht, joins us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, first and foremost, thank you for doing this. Happy New Year belated. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Same to you, and thanks for having me on.
It's been a fun, couple seasons up in Maquoketa. Before we get talking about this year's group and everything that's going on, it was a great run last year and a great experience last year. I know you want to leave last year in the past and move to this year, but how much did you guys pull from that experience last year and the things you guys accomplished as you got a lot of that talent back and got ready to rock and roll here in 2025, 2026?
Yeah, there's something to be said about experience, without a doubt. And I think if we take anything from last year, it's what we've learned from that and bringing everybody back with a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth of how things ended. Again, this group is extremely competitive. It doesn't matter if it's checkers. It doesn't matter if it's ping pong and basketball. They want to win. So knowing that they had that opportunity left out on the floor out at Des Moines is they're chomping at the bit. So the experience itself is what we've learned, and hopefully we're going to grow from that moving into this season, which we've kind of shown some good, I think, growing steps here.
It's funny because I started things off by saying one of the best teams in the state, regardless of classification, because you look at it, you're 13-2, won 12 straight, and those two losses, and I don't like to bring up the losses, Coach, and I know they still kind of get you a little bit, but to two teams that are 5A schools that are really good programs in the state, and you look at it, and there's Class 3A Maquoketa playing some of the best talent in the state to start the season. And you don't have a lot of non-conference games in the state of Iowa. You have to kind of pick and choose on how you're gonna attack things. Kind of talk about that thought process, because you did play bigger schools and really good programs to start the season. I'm sure there was a reason for that as well.
Yeah. And this group of kids, classification does not matter. We were 4A. We've been 4A for so many years, and we dipped down to 3A this year. But in the end, that number in front of the A does not matter to this group. They always want to play the best of the best. They're always seeking out the best of the best. And we went out to Grimes over the summer and played in a shootout out there with kind of limited activity with this group because they're so active in so many things. So we weren't really sure what we were going to get when we went out there. But they surprised me, and I told them that you guys surprised me, and they kind of looked at me like, Coach, come on, we are who we are. And so that led into the discussion that we had carried over from March when we walked off the floor out there in Des Moines. We kind of sat around and I said, so what do we want to do? Do we just want to walk into November as is, or do you guys want to make some sort of change? And the first thing they said is, we want to play some teams in that non-conference schedule. I mean, we want to load it up, Coach. Say no more. That's all you got to tell me. I love the competition. I tell anybody, I'll play anybody, anywhere. It does not matter to me. So that's what we did. We have 7 non-conference games where we're situated at. So we reached out, and ton of respect for the Iowa City schools, Iowa City High, Liberty, West, really good programs. The Cedar Rapids schools, we had a early season scrimmage with Kennedy and those schools. So it's something that we wanted to make sure we did, and the kids are extremely excited about it. We don't look at it as, it's hard on us. We're not going to have, all these quote games that we should win. It's more about what can we do to make us better. In the end, what's going to make us better, and that experience, hopefully, in this preseason non-conference schedule is going to help us.
And you can tell, Coach, that and I kind of said really close games with 5A schools, and I don't think that losses were lost. You guys expected to go in and win basketball games, and I think that's the beauty part about it. It wasn't hey, we did well against big schools, yay for us. You expected to win those games, didn't you?
100%, and that's never our attitude ever when we step on the floor. Is are we gonna win tonight? It's never that attitude. It's let's go out and do our job and win this game. So to not win those games, yes, it's left a little bitter taste in the girls' mouths. But at the same time, I think they've learned a ton from those 2 losses, and starting to kind of recalibrate as to what we need to overcome to beat those better teams as we move further into February here. So really good experience. Hopefully it pays off in the end.
Chad Specht, the head coach at Maquoketa for the girls, joining us right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. Chad, you look at it and they've won 12 straight, playing good basketball, really good basketball. Ranked number 1. There's plenty of publicity coming your way, not just this prestigious show, but others as well. You look at those how do you get the girls or keep the girls focused, or do you need to keep them focused? Do they see the headlines and the numbers and the rankings, and how do you approach those kind of things when it comes to this basketball team?
Well, I hope you get an opportunity to talk to them, because I hope they regurgitate what I say here. But we talk about it all the time, and focus is a key word. It's just they're teenage kids, right? So there's 3 things we talk about just every day, regardless of the situation. It's a day-by-day thing, and that's effort, attitude, and teamwork. As long as you do that, give me good effort, positive attitude, and a good teammate, you've won the day, regardless of what happens on the scoreboard. So they know that. On top of it, what we've added is we're looking to be better every day. It's the back of our shirts. Just get better, be better every single day. The other thing that we emphasize is we're doing this together. It's completely as a team. It's not individuals. And the last thing that we've kind of adapted is it's only us. Nothing external is going to get within that locker room. It's only us. There's going to be a lot of things, and it's great and it's exciting. And I don't tell the kids to block it. They can embrace that. But in the end, it's really just about only us. Let's continue to focus on that. And to their credit, all 19 kids, we got 19 kids in the program, they've done a fantastic job with it.
Coach, you see that 12-game winning streak, and some people would look at you and go, oh, coach is loving life. This is easy. I know coaches. I kind of know you. There's probably a list of things that not that you don't like about the team, but needs to get better. Can you do that for me real fast and say, if we want to reach that ultimate goal, we have to do this better, we have to do that better? What are some things that this team still needs to get better at?
You really don't want me to do that, because the girls would hate me if they saw it. But they absolutely know that it's not so much that I'm demanding perfection. It's more that we shoot for perfection. So regardless of the outcome of any game, we've sat down and said, we need to do this better. Could be half-court defense, could be rebounding, could be moving the ball on offense. Whatever it is, we need to be better. So we're always on the edge of what we can do better, regardless of what happened in the previous game. And they know that. I mean, you could come out of a game and feel like that was just the perfect game, knowing that we could be better in various aspects of it.
There are a bunch of competitive young ladies. I know there are a bunch of fun young ladies as well. Can you talk to me about that as well? Because obviously you talked, we want to play the best. We want to compete in anything, and all those, the competitive side is there. But and what I've heard, and they're a pretty fun group as well. And that has to be important. They have to be enjoying it, all those kind of things. Can you tell me about this team off the court and the type of personalities and maybe fun that you guys have as a team, besides winning? Winning, of course, is fun, but off the court as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're a special group, 7 seniors. There's no doubt about it. 7 truly different individuals with their own set of, views on things. And it really meshes extremely well when we get together on the basketball court. 3 juniors, 3 sophomores. We got 6 freshmen. And we usually end up practicing a lot of times together. We might split off every now and then, but the group is together, the 19 of them. And it's led by those 7 seniors. They're teenage kids. And so we have always established whatever's going on in your life, whatever baggage you have, me included, we leave it at the door before we enter the gym. And we come together and we do this together. And then you can take that baggage and pick it up as you walk out. And that has been a learning process. I've been with this group now for the senior group for 3 years. And I'll tell you, we've had peaks and valleys of a lot of it. But to their credit, they've grown, they've matured. We talk about life lessons in general. They want to be treated like young adults. So let's treat you like young adults and work towards that, because you're going to be going out into the world after this.
Yeah.
And the world's going to be a lot different than the high school world. And they've been fantastic. Absolutely, like you said, fun group, great personalities. They're into things that coach is not into. They want me to do TikTok stuff, and so I'm not doing that. Maybe let the assistant coach, who's much more cool and hip, and Carl Small or Mariah Johnson or Bree Armsdorf, let them do that stuff. Let the old man just kind of sit back.
There you go.
Great group. Fantastic group.
Let them coach basketball. Coach, I've had several girls basketball coaches on the last month, talked to several of them off the court. Joey Danya at Channel 6 did a really interesting story before the shootout about, participation in girls basketball. And I kind of wanted to ask you about it a little bit because we led this show off with talking about Iowa women's basketball. And the numbers that, and I know it because I track my numbers, when we talk Iowa women's basketball or basketball in general, college basketball, women's basketball, and even WNBA season, like I know what draws numbers and it does. And so to find out that participation is down around the state and down like 30% when it comes to girls basketball was surprising to me. What do you see? Obviously you got a great group in Maquoketa, but what do you see when it comes to girls basketball? And are you surprised by the trend of numbers going down in a sport that seems to be on the rise at the other levels?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can go into that. And I'm not surprised, honestly. We're down to 19 total kids in our program. I'm used to 20s, high 20s, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But what we're seeing is there's a lot of factors that play into that, Matt. And one of the first things is the opportunities. So in Iowa, you now have winter sports of not only girls basketball, but you have girls wrestling, you have bowling, there's the cheerleading aspect of it. There's dance teams. If we don't have a swimming program, maybe they need to go somewhere else for swimming. But you pull in the other off-season opportunities of club volleyball, softball, whatever it is, youth soccer. So I think opportunities is the first thing. The second thing is girls basketball is hard. And what I mean by that is it can be a long, long season. It's probably the longest season when it comes to high school sports. You start in early November and God willing, you're done in March. And that is a long time. So remaining focused and the drive and the passion, it's tough to get that. So us as Maquoketa, we ended the season last year and we really didn't know what our classification was going to be until Thanksgiving. The state just kept putting off because of the fact that there may have been some schools in the higher classifications. They weren't sure they were going to field varsity teams. And if they didn't field varsity teams, then maybe we would get bumped around. So it is a disturbing trend, but at the same time, I'm just not surprised by it at all.
And you look at it, Coach, it's not just, and not to get off on a different subject, but football numbers are lower. And I think it is, you mentioned specialization of sports, covering this for as long as I have, you see, and then being and I just use youth baseball as an example. Like a lot of parents are like, and they get excited and they're like, well, my kid's going to play professional baseball. And I think I tell people, like, of the 25 years I covered sports at WQAD, there was 3 Major League Baseball players that I covered in a quarter of a century, and it's hard. And I think that specialization of sports of like, I have kids that play basketball for me. It's 5th grade, 3rd grade, whatever. I coach way too many teams. I have too many kids, Coach. But they'll say to me like, hey, we're not going to make basketball practice because we got to go hit. And it's like January. And it's like, that's just let kids have fun and play the games they like to play and all those kind of things. So, Coach, when we look at this season as well, you talked about your schedule and having good teams on that schedule. One of my favorite rivalries covering this area is Maquoketa and Central DeWitt. I know it's not this week. I think it's next week, like February 5th, that game comes up. Ron O'Brien and Central DeWitt, great once again. It's been amazing matchups. Can you talk about that rivalry a little bit? I know it's not till next week and you got to focus on the task at hand, but 2 really good teams and 2 rivals that don't have any love lost for each other. I'm not saying personally, but when it comes to the schools, it's just a fun rivalry and 2 really good basketball teams.
Yeah, you said it right there. They're an extremely well-coached, really good program, doing a lot of good things in a tough conference in the MAC. And, they're 20 miles south of us. So for the eastern half of the state to have 2 programs like this kind of getting ready to butt heads. I think it's pretty cool. And the fact that last year that we were both playing back-to-back, they played the 4A game right before us in Des Moines, speaks a lot for the eastern half of the state. And, I've told a lot of people that I think it's just one of those deals. We're so far on the fringe here. Sometimes maybe we get lost in the commotion and the talk from the central part. And it is what it is, but we try to make our own noise, beat our own drum over here. And Ron and the Sabres have done that. And the other aspect being with Ava and Kinley and the seniors that they have, Ruggerberg and Folsang, our girls know them really well. Yeah. And I think they played a lot of youth basketball together. They've competed in a lot of sports, a lot of variety of sports. So that just adds that extra layer to it. And to me, it's fun, and the kids and I and the communities look forward to it.
Coach, a couple quick fun questions before I let you go. Is there a way you celebrate victories? Is there a meal? Is there a place to go? Is there what's it like or do you just start thinking about that next opponent and go to bed?
Are you talking me personally or the team in general?
Either or.
I'll be honest and admit that it's a sickness. I'm already thinking about the next opponent after the fact. I gotta kind of show the kids. So our kids at times don't always show enjoyment after a win too. So that's been over the years, kind of getting them to understand that you got to celebrate victories, regardless of the victory. You got to celebrate it. And so we've done better as a group in celebrating that. And I myself have taken a little piece of learning from that and try to celebrate. I might have a nice bowl of ice cream when I get home.
There you go. Are you superstitious, Coach? And if so, how?
Ooh, ever since my playing days, I always put left sock on first, and then right sock, and then left shoe and right shoe. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
I have no idea why. It just sits in my brain. So if you want to call that superstition, call that superstition.
Last one for you. You got a great picture over your shoulder of the goat, and this might be the answer. But if you could have dinner with one person in this world, live, dead, whatever, it's my game. I can make up whatever rules I want. Who would it be and why?
Obviously, I would choose Michael just because of to me what he's brought. But I no longer have my dad, so if I could at this point in my life, with my father, just because he was a huge follower of Maquoketa sports, supported all Maquoketa sports. And just to see, I think, what the girls have been able to do here lately, sitting down and having dinner with them right now would just be a wonderful conversation.
That's a great answer. Coach, I appreciate you. I wish you guys – I'm going to get those girls on the show. It's a little harder to do because they have these classes and stuff like that, but we'll get some of those seniors on the show here real soon. I appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the way. I apologize you have to deal with – first off, I want to thank you for helping John Marks the other day. He was trying to come on the show and he had to save the day. And then I apologize for having to put up with him all the time. It's a burden and a blessing at the same time to have John Marks around, isn't it?
We both know that you're not serious. That man is wonderful. He's one of the best ever, and it's my pleasure and my honor to be helping Johnny with his IT issues.
Well, I appreciate you, Coach, and I agree with you. He's a good dude. We'll catch up again real soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, that is Chad Specht, the head coach out at Maquoketa, one of the best girls basketball teams in the state. Excited to see what they do the rest of the way here in 2026. We got much more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. It's freezing outside. Hopefully you were smart and stayed warm and checked out OTA today here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. So many great things. I want to thank all our guests. Everybody's talking about the Iowa women's basketball team once again, and rightfully so. They are perfect in Big Ten play, 9-0. They've beaten 3 ranked opponents for the first time ever in a row, ever. So we talked all about that with John Bohnenkamp and Kyle Huesmann to start the show. If you missed that, scroll back, start it all over, watch it again. We also talked about the Fighting Illini with our good friend Jim Mattson as well. He was in West Lafayette to see the Keaton Wagler game. 46 points, what it means for Illinois. What their ceiling is extremely interesting as well. So we talked all about that with Jim Mattson. Go check that out as well. And then Chad Specht, the head coach at Maquoketa girls, extremely good. So we'll keep an eye on them. We'll probably talk to Chad several times right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo coming up over the next couple weeks and months as well. A lot to get to this week on the show. The Big Ten schedules come out on Tuesday evening. So on Wednesday, we're going to go through those for Iowa and give wins and losses and predict stuff that's way too early to predict when it comes to the college football season. Hopefully we'll have Logan Jones on the show this week as well. Tomorrow on the show, Olivia McCorkle, an outstanding basketball player at Bettendorf, going to Houston to play college basketball. But before all that, she's worried about Bettendorf Bulldogs and a really good Bulldogs team. So we're going to have her on the show tomorrow as well. New Rock Island head football coach Anthony Rome will come your way on Wednesday. Also, Rob Brooks will be here on Wednesday as well to talk about the Iowa women's basketball team as they get ready to hit the road and go out west for some big games out west as well. All of that. It's Royal Rumble week. We'll get you set for the Royal Rumble and a lot more. Make sure you keep it locked right here on OTA. We got a lot to get to throughout the week, and we'll do so each and every weekday at 10 a.m. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys coming up tomorrow.